All right, guys, this morning, special Zoom cast, BassMaster Elite Pro from the state of South Carolina, Patrick Walters. Welcome, Patrick. How's it going in this slow time for you right now? What's going on with you?
Man, I am doing fantastic this morning, Rhino, and I'm happy to be here with you. It's a good morning, hey, and it is a different time, but hey, it happens. It's life. You got to roll with the punches. We're going to get to it one day at a time. We're looking nothing but forward. Life doesn't have a rear view mirror, so we're going to keep on trucking.
Hey, that's a good perspective right there. So let me ask you this before I get into the bio thing. So what are you doing? I mean, I know I've seen you've been fishing a little bit. I know not as much as you would had the circuit been rolling. But what are you doing in your spare time? Are you binge watching TV, or I know you recently married, so I'm sure the honeydew list is moved forward to spring now instead of waiting till fall. But what's your everyday doing right now?
It's a mixture of everything. The honeydew list has actually grown. I actually built a fence last week. That way we can keep some dogs at the house. That was a fun time. We're looking at building a new patio. The yard work has been extensive, but been doing a little bit of fun fishing, kind of just enjoying it, trying to get my mind off of things. Even though the majority of the public ramps are closed in the state of South Carolina, you can still put in a private access like fish camps, like Black's Fish Camp, all that kind of stuff. A little bit of fishing, a lot of sponsor behind the scenes work. Kind of been trying to work on a lot of videos, kind of do a lot of promotion still. Not a lot of people are spending money right now, but you got to maintain that brand awareness. You got to maintain staying in front of the people's eyes, because the good thing was the economy was rolling better than it probably ever has before this happened a couple months ago. So everybody had money in their pockets. Everybody was doing good, and so going through this downtime, everybody still has that money. So they're kind of sitting and waiting and kind of idle, just trying to feel everything out. And then when I think this kind of breaks, it's going to really open up. I think it's going to be full throttle. I was thinking this was going to be worse than the '08 recession, but in the '08 recession, it was the housing market. It was and we couldn't pick that up. There was nothing you could do to change that. But now this was a couple of people have different perspectives, but this is one thing that affects everybody, which me thinking that once it's over, things will get back to normal and they can pick up that quick, because everything's going to be back to full throttle, and it's not going to be, well, we don't know when the housing market's ever going to pick back up. It's not, we're not had to wait on inflation or something like that. We're going to get back to normal pretty quick, I think.
And with these $1,200 stimulus checks, good old boys is probably going to be logging into Tackle Warehouse, Bass Pro Shops, and loading up with a new rod or reel, because those are the priorities for some of us. A brand new bait caster, or a brand new set of crankbaits or whatever. So let's start with
The
the
good
bio.
news is I actually got my stimulus check last night.
Oh,
Checked
really?
it this morning, came in $1,200. I was like, time to buy
That's
some
perfect.
tackle, baby.
That's perfect for you. So I go in the bio. Patrick Walters, 25 years old, Summerville, South Carolina, graduate of the University of South Carolina, national champion at the University of South Carolina. So Bassmasters, I guess they compile all your stats from college and the opens and everything. So this is the data I have. You fished 30 Bassmaster tournaments, opens, elites, whatever it is. Finished in the money 23 times. 2 wins, including the college championship. A second, 8 top 10s, 12 top 20s, and 20 top 30s, and been in the money 23 times. It's pretty impressive to be 25 years old. I know you like myself probably grew up watching the Bassmasters on ESPN Saturday morning when you weren't fishing, and now you're rubbing elbows with the Scott Canterburys, the Seth Fighters, the Crews, the Cobbs, the Cherries, even the old timers like Jay Ellis and Clark Wendell, who we grew up watching. Rick Clunn, of course. It's pretty impressive. We all grow up, like my generation wanted to be a baseball player. We watched Tony Gwynn, Wade Boggs. You've actually lived out that dream so far. So, what is it like rubbing elbows and being in the office space with Bassmaster Classic champion Hank Cherry, or Scott Canterbury Angler of the Year, or Seth Fighter? What is it like at an everyday basis? Your office is is with professional anglers. That's who you deal with on a daily basis.
You know, growing up, it's what you dreamed. It's the people you idolized, and you almost feel like they're not human. Well, the fact that they're not on a normal level, that's like you can't approach them. They're so high up there, but they're normal people. I mean, it's just like me and you talking right now. It's because I finally reached that level to now, like say, I fish professionally. And when you talk to them and tell you the truth, the legends of the sports, Jay Ellis, Rick Clunn, those older people, they are the most approachable and probably the guys I've had some of the best conversations with. Like Rick Clunn, he camps all the time. He's got a truck camper like I do. And it'll be an off day and it'll be 5 o'clock and he's already walking around drinking his coffee. Needless to say, I don't roll out of bed till about 8. And then he kind of walks on by and we sit there and have a conversation, drinking a cup of coffee. And you don't really think about it then because you're just talking fishing and it's something you have in common. It's a passion. I mean, I go to bed thinking about it. I dream about it. I wake up thinking about it. My day, every single day consists of something to do with fishing, talking about it, thinking about it. And so it's that passion. Everything else kind of just goes away. And it's just, hey, you just have that you're just talking about it, you know, and then after the conversation ends and you go back, you're like, man, I was just talking to Rick Clunn about fishing, you know. And tell you the funniest story, Rick Clunn gave me the best analogy one time of what you call an excellent cast. What do you call an excellent cast? Like when you slide it up in there and it's like, man, I at least try to get a courtesy strike.
Yeah.
What would you call it?
What would I call it?
Yeah, would you just call it a good cast?
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Well, that's kind of what I would call it too. But Rick was telling me one morning that he's a high school captain as well for his son and his partner. And they were out there fishing, and he was talking about how good of casters they were already at a young age. And he said his son slid one up in there, skipped it under an overhang or something. And his high school fishing partner said, man, that was a cast orgy. And Rick lost it. Like, I was like, what? And Rick is like dying, crying, laughing on this. And I was like, I did not expect that to come from Clunn.
Yeah, no kidding about that. All right, let's back it up. University of South Carolina, college fishing. You had some sticks. You had some sticks on that in that era. You was there. Josh and Hampton, Geddes.
Oh yeah.
All you boys could still sling it. Can still sling it now. I see Josh all the time down in Florida catching it up, and the other boys are still in the outdoor profession, not fishing necessarily, but. Take me back to that. What was that like? You know, a lot of people want to go to USC or a Power 5 school, SEC school to play football, baseball, basketball. But when they get out of class, they got to go run and lift weights and go to tutors. And you had the best scenario. You get out of class, you go to Lake Murray, Santee. You know, your extracurricular is in a bass boat catching fish. So what were those days like, I guess, from 19 to 22? How was that for you?
Tell you the truth, it was pretty amazing, and I'm very grateful for that opportunity that I had. You know, I really didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to go to college. I wanted to go straight fishing professionally, or at least try it. I thought I was ready. Needless to say, I was nowhere near it. I'm not going to say college fishing created my career, but it propelled it. It helped me because my mom said, you're going, I want you to get an education. And so thank goodness, went to school, got an education, but being able to learn the fishing industry, you're around all your good buddies, you're fishing all the time. I went to the library many a nights to study because Monday through Thursday, I was in the library hitting the books because I had to pass, you know, and then Friday through Sunday, I was on the water. And I cannot tell you how much fishing research I did in that library. If I went there for 6 hours, 4 hours was fishing based, you know. So I was well read in the fishing industry at that time. But it taught you how to travel when you were fishing the college tournaments. College fishing nowadays, it prepares you way more than I ever expected it. You fish different bodies of water. I went to Oklahoma. You traveled and you learned how to fish multi-day tournaments. And it was just great learning how to travel, how to prepare, the business I learned in the industry, but being around your buddies all the time and you're fishing 24/7. It's a great time in my life that I'll always remember because it was just, you didn't have any worries, you know. It's like, hey, I'm going fishing this weekend. Where are you going? And everybody, when you're around the same age group. It's the only time in your life you'll be around that many people in the same age. And the fishing team for me at South Carolina was my fraternity. I didn't do the fraternity thing. That's a good scene for some people. Some people like it, but for me, it was I didn't have time because I wanted to fish and get whatever I had to get done, spend time with the family. But that group of guys, everybody had that same passion. It was, hey, when we went in there, we talked fishing. I can talk fishing 24/7.
Yeah.
We can talk to about 9 o'clock tonight if you want to. And when you got around a group of guys that had that same care, it was like, that's where I need to be.
Yeah, and y'all did a heck of a job winning the national championship, runner-up. And all those guys had that same passion. Like you said, they're young guys, but they wanted to fish, not hang out with the fraternities and just 24/7 fishing. So we'll go forward. You win the national championship, and then you decide you're going pro. So I guess you go in the open series with BassMaster and then fish whatever you fish. I think from what I've seen, not indirectly, I guess, I've seen your dad also fish the circuit. So and I imagine in his point of view, it's cool. He got to live out a dream fishing on the co-angler side, but he also got to watch you progress from, high school, college, open into the elite. So how big has it been? I know your dad's still your number one roadie, getting you set up and doing things for you when you set up on these road trips. How big has it been for your dad, Todd, being there step by step, having somebody to lean on, having him in your corner, if it's going good or going bad, he's there all the time. How big of a bonus has that been?
Truly, it means just about everything. Fishing is the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. When you think you're doing good, I mean, it can bring you back to reality just as quick. And you have to have a support group. You have to have a support team, people who support you, who believe in you. And my dad's probably one of my biggest supporters. I mean, of course, my wife, Emily, she supports me 100%. I couldn't do it without her. But my dad being there all the time, I mean, I a lot of times I call him Todd. I call him by his first name because he's not just my dad, he's my best friend. I mean, we do everything together. If he's doing something, I'm like, where are we going? If I'm doing something, he's like, what are we doing? It's that kind of relationship we've built. He's my fishing partner, who I fish with. And he could care less about fishing the tournaments as a co-angler sometimes. He loves the competitiveness of it, but he does it to support me, to be there. He's figuring if he's going to be there, he might as well fish because he's just Todd. He's just the old man. He's like, well, shit, I could beat them. I might as well just fish too. And he ended up winning a boat before. I mean, he's a heck of a fisherman. He doesn't care about the competitiveness just to do it. He's like, hey, I'm just doing it because we're here. He's probably done fishing on the coast side a little bit because he's had some experiences. Like some of the guys he gets as a draw, it's kind of scary, honestly. He said if he's fishing again, which he's not doing it this year, probably next year, he's going to fish as a boater. That way we're still traveling, and that way he can fish at the same time. But truly having him there, it means a lot. And I know you want to do what you can to make him proud because he's putting all his time and effort too to help me. And it means a lot, and I can't say thank you enough to him. I wouldn't be where I'm at today without him.
And that's a cool experience, especially when y'all both qualified. You qualified on the boater side. He qualified on the co-angler side for the championship, and that was cool. And I'm watching the standings, but I'm watching both just to see where your dad fits in, and it was cool to see both of y'all qualify to fish for that championship. Tell me about when you got the call, the email, the text, whatever it was. I know a lot of things changed last year in fishing with new circuits and guys going here, there, and some stepping down and whatever. When you got the call to offer you the invitation to be a full-time BassMaster Elite Series pro, what you strive for through college, fishing all those opens all over the United States, what was it like when you got that call? Was it like a great satisfaction you finally made it?
It was kind of like just your heart sunk a little bit because, fishing the opens, I'd say the opens are almost more competitive than the elites at times because it's 200, you're fishing against 200 guys who this is their dream, this is their life goal, their biggest passion. So you're telling me it's 1 versus 199 guys, and you're telling me you're going to rip this guy's dreams away from him? It puts there's a lot of competition there because everybody's giving it everything they have. And when that happens, it makes for great competition, and competition drives success. And so after in 2018, I fished both divisions after college because I felt like the best chance to make the elites was to fish as much as possible and to double your odds. And actually was the top 10 in both in points. And you kind of anticipated, it's like, man, I hope I get that email. I hope I get that invitation. And like a week went by, 2 weeks went by. I started calling some of my buddies who were in the top 10 with me. And we're like, no, we haven't heard nothing yet. And it was like, man, I think we're going to get invited. I hope we do. And then my buddy called me and said, you get the email? I was like, do what? He said, I got the email. I got invited because he was one spot ahead of me. And I'm like, dude, I didn't get it. And like 2 hours went by. And it was Drew Cook, who starts with a C. And
Yeah.
I guess it took him that long to get the W. And like 2 or 3 hours, I was like, man, I didn't make it. It was, and then you get that email and your heart just drops and you're like, goosebumps, the hair stands up on the back of your neck. You're like, is this the chance? It means everything, that all the hard work pays off. And I was thankfully lucky enough, and I mean blessed, to make it in the first year, really second year, but the first year full trying to make it.
Yeah, I remember when Carl sent that text that you got it, and it was like a celebration for somebody we know. Like we talked about, everybody's bigger than life, but it's somebody you've talked to, ate supper with, hung out with, is now in the Elite Series. And talk about that first win at Red River. I remember it being a slow tournament, small bags coming in. I remember you saying something to the effect of, flip a stick bait up there and just kind of let it sit and let them come and get it. What was it like when you're on the stage and they do the whole, you sit in the hot seat and boom, 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 and then finally you get to raise up a BassMaster trophy, winning a BassMaster Open event. What was that? What was that feeling?
Hey, it's probably the biggest point in my career so far, and so many things happened in that tournament, which was what made it so weird. And to truly call it a hot seat was true, because this was in June or July in southern Louisiana. It was 100 degrees. I have a picture. I'm gonna have to go find it later, of my co-angler on day 3. I think it was 100 degrees. He changed his shirt twice in one day because he was sweating that much. It was that hot. But I think what truly helped me win that tournament was 2 weeks prior, on the same rib at the same place, same boat landing. We fished the FLW College National Championship, which was my last college tournament of my career, and ended up finishing 24th. I put a bunch of time in there, and it was 2 weeks prior. I was planning on staying there for the duration after the whole week and just kind of practice. But a bunch of stuff went down in that college tournament. Wasn't too happy with. I ended up finishing 24th, but it was just the fishing was terrible. Wasn't happy with the finish, from kind of some of the decisions made. And I got fed up, and I was like, I'm going home. Like, I don't even need to stay out here. This fishing's horrible. I mean, you're catching 8 pounds a day. I was like, who cares? I went and did something different. I knew what I probably could have done. And so I came back out, drove home, and then drove back 3 days before the Central Open. And it felt like I had some hindsight. They say hindsight's 20/20. It's like, man, if I would only knew. It was kind of like I knew what to do. I was like, why would I go do that if I knew this is the area? And I knew the area right there at the boat landing was where majority of the fish in the entire river lived. And we just had that college tournament, which was 200 boats. We just released all those fish. I was like, I'm just going to fish right here. I'm like, who cares? Like, kind of just a lackadaisical attitude, just kind of like, And the first day of the tournament, the river, it's got some deep water to it, but not much. And it's super shallow. And it is the way I love to fish. I think I caught every single fish in that tournament. I'm not lying, this deep. Like, you would hook them and mud would come up. You throw up there on a piece of wood and you're like, there's no way there's a fish up there. And you'd end up catching one. After day 1, I caught, I think, 9 or 10 pounds. And after day 2 and day 3, they were releasing the fish in that area. And in river systems, fishing a retread pattern, it's a good thing. I mean, it's actually with current and stuff, kind of just closest piece of wood, shallow, out of the current as much as they can. And then day 2 and day 3, I went and flipping a stick bait and a square bill. And I knew I was going to win the tournament when I think it was day 2 or day 3. I think it was day 2. I was reeling a crankbait, and the water's real dirty. I mean, you could probably – it was 4 inches of visibility. It was truly the Red River. And I could see like a 4-pounder swimming on the surface. It's at the surface, and the boat's kind of colliding to him. And I just reel the crankbait up, and I pause it right there at the boat, and the crankbait floats up, and he eats it on the surface. Wasn't even reeling it. And I was like, okay, you can't do nothing wrong.
So that being your peak, winning that Elite Series, Open Series championship, what was the biggest disappointment you've had as a pro so far, in your opinion? A short career, but what's the biggest you felt like maybe you left something on the table?
I'd say there's a lot of them. Every tournament, you're a loser more than you are a winner in fishing. It kind of stinks. So you have to have a short memory. You have to get right back on the horse and just go fishing and not worry about it. There's a lot of tournaments I wish I could take back. I'd say the Elite Series last year, I did have a good season, in terms of looking at it. But I really wanted ROI. I started good with leading AOI, and I kind of got stubborn. I'm telling you, I'm stubborn as a mule. I really am. And when we went up north, I fished for largemouth a lot of times, and I didn't, even though I knew you had to have smallmouth to win, I didn't fish for the win once I went up north. And I don't know if that was just because I hadn't fished up there much or what, but just not being so stubborn in general. Sometimes it helps you. I'm telling you. I mean, it's got me this far, but you have to know when to give in and fish a particular pattern or for specific fish, because I love to fish shallow. I'm telling you, I am a bank beater. If I'm deeper than 5 foot, I'm deep. So when you go up there and you're catching them out of 30 foot of water and current, I can do it and I don't mind doing it, but I'd rather be over there on the hill. So just being stubborn.
You're more DT6 and stick bait 100%. and flipping and not casting, more flipping.
I want to see my bait come back to the boat every time. 100% of the cast, I want to be able to see it. And so I'd say last year not winning Rookie of the Year, that was really the feather in the cap that I wanted to have, because you only get one chance.
And that's the thing.
You don't get a second chance at that. You can get AOI whenever, but ROI is a one-time deal. And I had a good lead, and just let it slip.
And that early start with 4th at St. John's, top 10 at Winyah, you was kind of rolling, and you was top 3 in both at one point, AOY and the Rookie of the Year, and then it just kind of, like you said, that northern swing just kind of drop, and like you said, you lose more than you win. But all right, you fished a lot of places from, I guess, Louisiana back here. What's your favorite body of water? We'll take out Santee because I know that's your homeland. But if you gotta go catch a solid bag or just have a fun day on the body of water, where you backing in at the boat ramp?
I'm gonna say probably 2 bodies of water. I'll give a northern one, and the northern one's easy for me. And I'm gonna say Lake Oneida in New York, right above Syracuse. That lake, me and that lake mesh for some reason. It's a northern fishery, but it's a shallower fishery, like where you can go catch smallmouth on a chatterbait all day long. I'm talking about train wreck it. You can catch everything there 12 foot and shallower. And that's one thing I love about it. I fished 2 opens there. The first one I finished 5th. It was the first open I ever fished in my entire life in 17. And the second one was last year. I finished 11th to miss the top 10 cut by like a half a pound. And I only weighed in 4 fish day 2 and lost a 4-pounder at the boat to really, I would have been in second place going into the final day in that one. And it's like that simple mistake is what hurts you. But Oneida is one that I've got circled because I just love that lake. But I'd say in the South, it's the Tennessee River. Whether I'm going to say Wheeler, I love Pickwick, but Lake Wheeler gets no credit on the Tennessee River. Everybody loves Gunnersville, Chick, which I love them all. But Wheeler is the shallowest fishing lake out of all of them. It just sets up different. It's a great shallow water fishery, and it's got some big ones in it. Anywhere on the Tennessee River's got them.
Okay. Well, I figured I thought you might go St. John's just because you had good success there, but
I do love the St. John's. It's different, but it's give and take, man. That place is just so, if they're not spawning, it's tough. It really is tough, but it does have big ones. If it can get the grass back in it, it's a world-class fishery. I do love tidal water fishing, but it's up there, but it ain't in the top.
All right. you fish in a, let's say a CBC, let's say a team situation. You got to pick one dude to go out and bust a big bag to win whatever the money is. Let's say it's 100,000. Who's the one dude you pairing up with to go fishing? Whether it's a past guy, a present guy, a local guy, any body of water, it's a surprise. What's one dude you piling up with and you going? Who you trust to win that 100,000? If you had to have one part,
I'm like 2 picks. Number one, tried and true, day in and day out, my old man.
Okay.
That's the dude I got more confidence than anybody. We fish completely different. We argue a lot because we see things different. He wants to fish deep and he wants to drag a worm. He's a worm dragger, and I want to fish shallow and I want to fish fast. So we gel nice sometimes. You know, we keep each other even keel where we're not too heavy on the boat one side, or we're both fast. That way we don't miss a bite. He's my cleanup guy. He's going to catch old big and he's going to help fill the limit. But number two, Kevin Van Dam. Who would not want to fish a tournament? That guy's he hasn't busted him in a while, but I'm telling you, that guy, the knowledge he's got, that is one dude I want to fish with one day before, you know, like something I retire. You know, it's before I die, I want to fish with that dude.
Well, I was wondering if you was going to go that route. I didn't know if you would go local guy or buddy guy, but so even you have an icon as Kevin Van
100%.
Dam.
He's probably one of my. I have a lot of them, and a lot of them are at MLF. And I have no prejudice against either division, whether it's FLW, MLF, or Bass. I think there's enough room at the top for all three of them. If you took one division away and you have 300 plus guys fishing professionally, the funnel to the top would be too tight. I mean, there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who bass fish, and you're telling me only 300 people who can fish professionally. There's room for it. I think what needs to happen is all the divisions need to kind of work together because there's room there. They are different entities and they are different businesses, so they're going to do things different. But there's room for everybody to succeed and profit. You know, I mean, it's no need for. I don't hate anybody for being over there. I still look up to. He's top 3 in my book because just when he says something, you're like, oh yeah, that's 100% legit. You know, there's a lot of them over there that I really look up to.
All right. You know, we all go fishing on Saturday or whatever, and if we catch 2 or catch 10 or don't catch anything, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day because, you know, there's nothing on the line for us other than telling a lie when we get back to the boat ramp. What does it feel like? You know, if you don't catch fish, you don't cut a check. I mean, you don't have a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday that it doesn't matter on Saturday. So let's say, for instance, BassMasters Classic, second day, you know you need whatever to make a cut and you're struggling. So it's 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. Do you change? Does your heart rate start pumping? Do you start feeling the nerves? Do you change things up? Or what do you do? Or maybe not even BassMasters Classic, just one of these other tournaments like Win Yacht last year when you know you need one more bite to get in that top 10 to fish on Sunday. How does the nerves work when the pressure starts mounting?
If we blast off at 7 o'clock, at 8 o'clock, my mind's already rolling. I'm not scared to change or adapt. I looked at it this way now. Your best days of fishing are when you're pre-fishing or when you're having fun, no preconceived notions. So every tournament day, I attack it like I'm pre-fishing. I'll go in with my preconceived notions of the pattern I tried to lay out, but a lot of times that doesn't work out. So I'll just start running new water or trying new baits. You always have to adapt, but at 8:30, I'm always changing. But what starts to kind of play is every tournament you start to look forward to for a long time. And a lot of preparation. I probably do 30 plus hours of Google Earth map, Lake Master map research, reading fishing reports on the internet, you know, of just research, just trying to really break down the body of water. When I get there, I have an idea, and it's like the classic. There's 364 days of lost sleep research that you're doing, and you have 3 days to live up for the time it took. you have to do whatever you can. And it's like, sometimes you don't get beat, you run out of time. Truly, I feel like it's, if I need one more hour, I'm going to figure them out. I truly believe every day I get on the water, I'm going to catch them. I don't know how I'm going to catch them. I don't know where I'm going to catch them at, but I'm going to run into them at some point. So you have to be confident and just continually changing. I go in there with a lot of ideas, like, hey, I'm going to catch them on this. And then you do something completely different. So you can't be afraid to adapt. But at 1:30 at the BassMaster Classic, I'm telling you, you're sweating bullets. Nerve, because you're not getting paid. You know, you have to. We have 8 chances, include if you add the Classic, and you have 9 chances to make your living, to make sure you prove yourself to sponsors, to cut a check. That's not many times to, you know, make a living for an entire year. So it's a lot of pressure gets put on it, and you have to be able to kind of handle that pressure, because if you put too much on yourself, then you just don't perform. So it's finding that happy medium.
All right. After the Classic, let's say top 10 go on or whatever, or any tournament, top 10. What is the rest of the guys? What do y'all do is there a lot of hanging out, or is there just groups? You got 2 or 3 guys that you kind of run with, or how is that the interaction? I guess, you know, you're trying to kill each other all week, but once, like, okay, these 10 guys are fishing Sunday, what do you do? Do y'all chill out by the camper, or do you have a few guys that you know, talk what you did, strategy, what didn't work, or whatever? How's that go on the weekend?
There's a lot of camaraderie between the guys. You know, there's only 88 of us, and every single one of us gets along. That's the good thing about it. If you're at the Classic, usually on day 3, if you don't make the cut, you're at the expo working, shaking hands, kissing babies, you know. But no, we usually, after a tournament, if you don't make the cut, we're somewhere probably tied 1 on, you know. Especially at the campground, there's usually about 10 of us that trying to travel around and camp. And Clint Davis, I can tell you what, a sucker will tie 1 on in a hurry. But Clint's my boy. And it's usually hanging out. We're talking a little bit. Sometimes after a tournament, after all that research you've done, you got so much preconceived notion. Like, this is what you should do to win. And then you kind of know what you need to do to win. And this is, you go in there after practice, you're like, oh, I fished doing this, you know, and you're like, well, it ends up getting 1 doing what you thought it should have done. And so you get so fed up, you're like, man, I don't even want to talk about it. Like, I don't even watch the shows half the time because you're just so mad. You're just like, why didn't you just do it? You knew what to do. So you don't even talk about it. It's just like, man, let's just kick back and relax.
Tell me about Gerald Swindle, your interactions with him, or you know, he's such a larger than life character from years. I don't know how much interaction you've had. I'm sure a little more now that he's back on the scene, but he's like the Larry the Cable Guy versus, I don't know. He's just a combination of the good old boy. He shoots straight, but he's a hell of a fisherman also.
Absolutely.
So what you got any stories or anything?
I got one good one.
Okay, come on.
I was kind of surprised, but I'll share that one. But I've always looked up to Gerald my entire life. He's a great guy, a comedian. You know, he's a great fisherman. Won 2 Angler of the Years. Heck of a fisherman. I love the way he fishes. He's a junk fisherman. I feel like I'm the same way. I'm not a 1 rod guy. Never have been. If I'm catching them on 1 bait, I'll still have 14 rods on deck. It's just, that's how I fish. And so I really look up for him as an angler. He's a great businessman. A lot of people think he's like, oh, he's just a simple redneck fisherman. That dude is more business savvy than a lot of people think. When you hear him talk about business, it'll open your eyes how sophisticated he is about the industry. But the funniest story I got about Gerald was this year when they were talking about he was coming back to the Elite Series. Somehow some rumors got spread that there was a couple of the BassMaster Elite Series guys that did not want anybody from MLF coming back, that especially Brandon Polinick and Gerald Swindle, that we didn't want them coming back, that they should work their way, all this stuff, that we didn't want them to come back. And somehow my name was on top of the list, that I was the biggest advocate that didn't want them to come back. And I don't know how this rumor got spread, because, I mean, we're Rapala guys. We're both Zoom. And the guy at Rapala heard it, and the guy at Zoom heard it. So my sponsors were thinking that I was trash talking them. And so Gerald heard about it. And honest to God, I did not think Gerald Swindle knew my name. I was like, I'm still a nobody, you know, I'm just here. It's like I'm not even on his chart of who he knows. And I heard you didn't want Gerald Swindle to come back. I'm like, where did this even come? And so we had the angler of the meeting at the beginning of the year in December when they got invited back. And we're in Birmingham and they're having a meeting talking about like what's going on and happy to be back. And I felt like he was, because he gave a speech and I thought he was kind of directing some of it to me a little bit. I was like, oh, that's weird. I don't know why he was doing that. And then that's when I heard afterwards that happened. And right when somebody told me that, I said, send me his phone number. Like, send it to me right now. Like, I have to get this off. I got to clear the rug, you know. It's like, I can't, you're right, clear the air. I can't have him thinking that I'm talking trash about him. And I've looked up to him the whole time. And so I got his phone number and I was actually at Gunnersville practicing for the Classic. And I called him, went to voicemail. I left a voicemail saying, hey, Gerald, this is Patrick Walters. Just wanted to clear the air. Heard there were some rumors going around, you know, just give me a call back if you get a chance. Just want to talk with you for a minute. And like 20 minutes later, he called me back. And I said, man, Gerald, I had this rumor going around, blah, 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 that I didn't want you back. And he said, yeah, I heard the rumor. He said, I didn't know if it was true or if it was just bass gossip going around. And I'm like, oh my God. He thinks I've been talking trash about him this whole time. And that's hard. Even if somebody does call you and tell you face to face, it's like you still have that thought in your mind, like, hey, it's suspicious, you know. And I talked to him for 15 minutes on the phone, and we talked about the industry, and I just told him how much I looked up to him as an angler and everything, that I was happy to have him back, just for how much his opinion matters within the fishing industry, how much all the bass anglers look up to him. He has a lot of sway, and it's good to have him back. I mean, everything about it was a good decision. And I just wanted to know that, like, hey, man, I wasn't talking trash. Like, I don't know where that came from. I just wanted to put that to bed. And he really appreciated me calling him and stuff. And it was kind of surprising thinking that I didn't even think he knew who I was. And it turns out he knew who I was because I was talking trash about him, supposedly.
Well, at least you cleared the air and he accepted it. You don't want that big fella stomping around behind you with bad intentions. All right, so you got the honeydew list. You're sitting at home. You're still probably looking at fishing. What is the prospective date? Is there one? Has Bass come out with maybe just a tentative schedule? I know I seen yesterday some of the golf tournaments are talking about maybe May they're going to start maybe without fans or whatever. And I know the biggest thing with y'all's is the expos. You know, for the sponsors, they sell a lot of products. They get to advertise a lot of products. And like you talked about, if you're not fishing that third day, you know, you're in the expo and shaking hands and Rapala and Phantom and batteries and rods and reels and everything. So is there a tentative timeline or is there any rumor to when you may get back on the water competitively?
That's the most frustrating thing about the whole ordeal going on right now is there's no set date, like saying, hey, May 21st, things are back to normal. You know, so we're just everything's in limbo. But as of right now, excuse me, the Sabine River tournament is still on as scheduled, which is I think May 29th, June 1st, like around the June 1st area. That one is still on as scheduled. They haven't postponed that one. So I'm hoping June 1st things will kind of get back to normal, that we'll have that tournament. And the following week is Texas Fest on Lake Fork, which will be a slugfest. It'll take 120 pounds to win that tournament, truly. So I'm hoping that's kind of our date. And I think if we do have those tournaments, we're going to have to take precautions with social distancing. We won't have marshals. And I'm okay with that. I think what we should do is we should put a GoPro in everybody's boat and we can polygraph every single person. I'm fine with that. There's ways about it that we can social distance and fish. Now is the perfect time in today's world for bass fishing to go to that next level, to be on ESPN in prime time because nobody's doing anything. And fishing's the perfect social distancing. That's a 21-foot boat. If you do have somebody in the boat, they're 6 feet away, which, I mean, even at weigh-in, we don't have to have fans. We can do that for a couple of the first ones. So I'm hoping June 1st is the kickback. But talking with Bass and everything, we're most likely going to have a fall schedule this year. They said that even if we have to wait till August 1st to schedule our next tournament, we can still have a full season of the following 7 tournaments and 3 opens. So it'll most likely be in the fall. It might go to December. That's a long way away, and that's a kind of pushing everything really tight. It'll be a lot of traveling, but as long as we have the full schedule, because you have obligation for sponsors too. You have to fulfill what you promised them. That's the thing. It's you got to perform and you got to fish, or else you're not getting paid.
Yeah, that would definitely change Santee's look, I guess, from earlier in the year to later in the year. I mean, positive for you is, either way, Santee, either way. But
It's April 15th. It's Wednesday. Today is the third and final day of practice on Lake Santee. The tournament is this week. Tomorrow would be the first day, and I'm telling you, Santee's on fire right now. It's lights out. Everybody would it would take more weight than I was originally thinking to win. It would probably take 95 pounds to probably win the whole tournament. I mean, it's the big ones are biting. It's the time of year. There's a shad spawn probably about to kick off. The brims spawn and shellcracker are everywhere. Master's still spawning. They're wrapping up. The lake is fishing great, but it'll probably get pushed back to September, October, possibly November. It won't be as high a weights, but it'll still be a good tournament. That way you can still showcase the fishery and still have the fans to come, because if they were to have it right now, you wouldn't be able to have fans at the weigh-in, so people wouldn't be traveling to come see. So Clarendon County, which is actually one of my new sponsors this year, would not reap the benefit of having the tournament there. They paid Bass to have a tournament come to their hometown in their county for all the people to travel, go eat out, eat at the restaurants, at the local places, get gas, spend at the lodging, spend the money in Manning to really benefit the county. And if you had no fans, they wouldn't really be able to have that. So it's good to wait where you can have the social interactions, where you can have the expo, where you can have the fans come and you can showcase the fishery. If we had it in August or something, nobody would want to show up anyways because it'd be too hot.
Yeah, sure.
So I think waiting will be a lot better.
And one of my sponsors, D&H Barbecue in Manning, not my sponsors, but one of my favorite places. So when you guys do make it to Manning in September, check out D&H Barbecue. All right. So, what are you going to do from here? Are you still mapping? Are you mapping that Sabine? Are you even thinking about Sabine? Are you just waiting until they open practice and then you'll go to that? I mean, are you just fun fishing, honeydew-ing? Are you still doing a little bit of research just so you're sharp enough? You're just not totally blind when you walk in to finally getting back to fishing maybe June 1st.
It's a mixture of both. I'm not doing nowhere near as much research as I was because it's still uncertain. You don't want to research a lake for a specific time of year and then it not happen. I got Sabine playing in the background. I was talking with Garrett Paquette a second ago, talking about Sabine, thinking that it's still going to be on. I'm not researching any of the other tournaments yet because there's no set date. I really love when I start researching. I want to look at a specific time frame because the fish are always moving. So I don't want to do too much and it'd be like, well, that was a completely different time of year. Just really going to kind of fun fish, enjoy it, fish, do a lot of sponsor obligations, kind of make everybody happy. I'm still looking forward to Sabine. I'm doing some research for there and Fork, thinking it's still going to be on, but it's just kind of biding time. You got a set thing to do sometimes. It's like, well, hey, I need to do this and that. And usually like, well, I need to do it today, but we're kind of taking your time. It's like, I can sleep in today because I probably got 2 months off, So it kind of makes you lazy a little bit, and it's just trying to stay active a little bit. I want to get my captain's license and actually start guiding on Santee, the Cooper River, Murray. And what I'll probably do is I want to start dabbling. This is crazy. I want to start dabbling in catfishing a little bit. I've catfished a little bit, but I've never targeted catfish year round. But it's not that I have a passion for it, but Santee Cooper is known for catfishing. And I've talked to a lot of guides, and bass fishing is hard on Santee. If you're not skinning bark, you're not catching fish. I mean, it's very target rich and it's target oriented. So for a novice angler to come, it's kind of hard for them to succeed. And that's why I think Santee Cooper is a great lake system, but it's not top 5 for me because I feel like a 10-year-old kid should be able to come there and catch a 5-pound bass. You kind of got to know what you're doing to catch them. So I feel like catfishing would be a good way to stay busy, make some money. That way, when you're not fishing, you can maintain making a living because, hey, you got to pay the light bill.
That's true. So social distancing, shelter in place, other than fishing, other than practicing fishing, other than fun fishing, what's the one thing you look forward to doing maybe with your wife that it's like when everything opens up and you got a week off? There's no practice. There's no nothing. What are you looking forward to doing? What's one thing on your list, whether it's traveling somewhere, going somewhere to eat, or weekend somewhere? What's on your list as far as outside of fishing? What's the one thing when everything gets back to normal you plan on doing?
I am ready for some fresh seafood. I'm telling you, I am a seafood dude. I need some seafood to start opening back up here soon. But traveling probably. I'm telling you, that Duramax is whining in that driveway, and I'm ready for that sucker to start whining on that interstate because I love to travel. I love the hunt for new places. Whether I'm just you don't know where you're going, whether it's fishing or not fishing related. I love burning up the highway. Because and you it's just kind of like you're sitting and waiting, but really ready for the economy to pick back so things really take back off again. And we're in the process of we were looking at building a house. Thank gosh, I was already applied for the construction loan and everything. We have not followed through with that before all this happened because I'm glad we didn't have all that money tied up with all this going on. That way it could be a month or 2 months, but once it kind of levels out, finishing that up, getting our own place and really going from there.
Cool. All right. Last question, 2-part. First, the guy who's kind of brought us together, I guess, our mutual friend. Give me your breakdown on Carl Smith. Carl, I know he's been on your travel crew. He's been a marshal. He's been a boater for the cameraman. He's been to most of the tournaments that weren't way out of there, way out of a lot of mileage. He does have a regular full-time job, but Carl's
does
been
he?
here. Well, I mean,
he does have a full-time job, but that dude plays as much as all of us.
Well,
I'm surprised he can.
He's got more vacation days than the president. I mean, than the president plays golf. I mean, somehow he's always working where I'm leaving Thursday and I'm coming back Tuesday and then leaving again on Friday. But tell me what it means, to have a guy that can get you away from fishing. Like you say, tie one on, change the dynamic of the mindset of what you're doing where you from 7 to 3, you're on the bass, but from like 5 until you go to bed at night. It changes, it breaks it up. I know at Winyard, he took your phone from you, so you couldn't see where the standings were, whether you made the top 10 or not. Just keeping you, I guess, at a level ground and just keeping it easy, even DJing your wedding. Everything. Give me a little breakdown on the relationship with Carl.
If you need a best friend and a good buddy who's got your back day in and day out, Carl's your dude, hands down. You wouldn't think Carl, just being 36, that we'd all be best friends with him. But I have never, and I can promise you, he's never met anybody that he's not best friends with. He knows more people, and he's good friends with more people than I've ever met. It don't matter if we're in Florida. It doesn't matter if we're in Texas. He sees somebody he knows. And that's the thing. It's whether I do it a lot. Like, hey, I got an idea. I don't tell many people, but Carl's network, I mean, we need to start calling him AT&T because he's got a cell tower. He's got calls. We're going to start calling him the communicator or something. He's over there just landline and everything. He's talking all the time. But if I got an idea or something, I'm always calling Carl. Carl, what you think about this? Tell me what you heard so far. He's always got the inside. But from fishing to having a good time to frog gigging, Carl's just the dude. I'm telling you, he enjoys life. He loves having a good time. And everybody loves being around him. He is, basically he's the party. Whenever he walks in, it's just, it turns it up to 10. If you're having an okay time, like we'll be sitting there drinking a cold one, sitting on a tailgate, just hanging out. And then Carl shows up and it's like, who knows what the night's about to get into now. It's just him being there. It's truly one of the best friends that you'll remember forever. I mean, he'll be in my life till I die because Carl's just that good of a dude.
And you talk about networking. I mean, next thing you know, you're on the Elite Series. He's rubbing elbows with Dave Mercer, tweeting it up. He's Davey Hyatt.
Him and Lee Livesey are best friends now.
Oh, really? Well, I mean.
Oh, yeah. It's just because Carl's that dude.
And I come back to he comes back to the Lugoff, and I'm like, what happened this weekend? He's like, man, and I ain't gonna say no names, but he'll be like, yeah, dude, this particular angler, man, this guy right here ripped up the dance floor. This guy right here drank all night long. He's like, you ain't gonna believe, you wouldn't believe this guy, this guy, this guy. He's networked in, and then I know when the guys came down to Santee to hang out with your pops, Seth, I think, came, and Ike and Ellie was there, I believe, and
it was Zona came down, Davey was down there, Wheeler came down there for a day, Tharp was down there. It was the Rapala crew. We were actually filming a Rapala photo shoot.
That's right.
And then Pops was cooking. Carl came down and instantly best friends with every single one of them.
That's what I'm saying.
Walks in and is like, "What's up?" I mean, it's just.
I mean, like I talked about, your dynamic of hanging out with guys you watch on TV. Now Carl's just texting the dudes. It's like, hey man, we on first name basis. Who would think you and Davey hired?
Carl is the operator. I'm telling you, he's got a phone board in his house, and he's like, hold on, I got another call coming in. He's just plugging and playing. The operator. That dude he's the man.
That's good, man. Me and Carl, back when before I hit 40, me and Carl used to run a little bit. I'd jump in that black 71, and there was no telling. There was no telling where we were headed. And
hey, a couple peanut shells in the floorboard, push pole in the back. I mean, you don't know what you're getting into.
And the thing about it is, the one thing I can say is I always made it home safe. Even if I was awake or not awake. There's a lot of nights he pushed me at 3 o'clock and let me out at the house. But always fun times. Keeps it fun. Can fish, but
darn right. He's been fishing a lot lately. That sucker, he has been on them too. Yeah, I call him and I'm like, "Where you at?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm in North Carolina." I'm like, "What the heck?" He's like, "No, I'm on Santee."
Well, he had a special request for you that you tell me.
Is he gonna make sure he's not gonna pie me? I had to look over my shoulder real quick.
I've been part of that too.
In a hurry. I had to make sure he wasn't in the house.
It's not your birthday. Don't worry. He said to ask you. Ended on this note about eating chicken legs off the same chicken. What's that mean?
No joke though. If you ever thought about it. Carl, he made a good point. He made the most valid point that you do eat the same leg if you buy a whole chicken. And I was like, okay, good point, Carl. But I was eating fried chicken one night. This is quarantine questions. If you've got some deep questions when you've been stuck at home, when you buy a pack of chicken legs and you fry up, because it's just legs, what are the odds of you getting a pair of legs from the same chicken? Or is it like when they send these legs down a conveyor belt, is it like a whole pile of legs? Or is it like if there's 8 legs in there, is that 4 chickens? Hey, I mean, are they all the same or are these different legs? I mean, that's a serious question.
I'll see. I figure they might go two, but then again, it might just be a big barrel.
But then it could just be on a belt, and then they just grab and put them in a pack. So that's why I was like, hey, we're going to have to call Tyson. We're going to have to go talk to a chicken plant and figure out this debate of how often are we eating chicken legs from the same chicken.
Well, I got a new idea.
And Carl said he doesn't know. He ain't never asked them. And I was like, that's a good point. I'll always bring you back down to earth.
A new question. I had to get a guy from Tyson Chicken Farm on for a podcast to say, what's the odds? But Patrick, I appreciate you joining me. Look forward to the fishing season getting back together. I love keeping up on the bass tracks when you got a camera in the boat, and then when it's close by, we'll be there. Definitely be at Santee. Probably be right beside Carl, because I know if I'm with Carl, I'll get to see Seth Fighter, and I get to see
right. That's a backstage pass right there.
Yeah, Hank Cherry. I'll get to meet the BassMasters Classic winner. So get to hang out with Davey Hyatt and Mercer and whoever. But appreciate you joining. Good luck. Look forward to coming down there one day when this thing opens up. We might do a hot dog review. I'm sure there's some good hot dogs down there in Somerville. But I'll be talking to you. Might do if I can get Carl to download the Zoom app. He's got 40,000 apps on the phone. He might not have room. He might not have enough memory. But if I can get in, we might do a little 3-way, little fun. Any of you other guys watching this, BassMasters, if you ain't got nothing to do tomorrow, I don't either. So if any of these guys you want to answer a question, come on with it. But appreciate you, Patrick. Good luck. We'll see you soon, and we'll talk to you at least by Santee.
Absolutely, Rhino. I enjoyed it, man. Thanks for having me on. Always a good time. Look forward to talking with you soon.